Hello, hello. It's Kathleen from Kathleen at Home. I'm sitting here in my well-prepared garden. My husband has gotten the soil ready for me, and I've been getting ready to start some planting. This afternoon, I want to talk to you about planting tomatoes. Now, my father-in-law was the one who really educated me on planting tomatoes. He was very specific about how he did it. So I'm going to talk to you about how he would plant a tomato. So as we're pulling these out of the container, you'll notice a couple things. My father-in-law always wanted me to lay my tomatoes down. So hold on a second, we got a big tractor going by. They're getting some planting done today too. He would like me to lay the tomato down and put this portion in the soil and then tip the plant up. And so if I have a really long stem, that's what I'll do. But what I do now more than that is, notice this little guy here. This little guy here, I used to snip that off because I thought, oh, it's going to be under the soil. That probably wouldn't be good for it. But my friend Heather at the Garden Girl told me, oh, no, Kathleen, you want to leave that in. That's a super important leaf. She told me what it was, and now I'm not remembering. But she told me you want to leave that leaf in your planting and put it below the soil. So I think that is why my father-in-law turned the plant sideways and then would just tip that up so that that would be underneath. So I'm going to try and tip my camera down a little bit, and hopefully it doesn't fall out. See if we can get the right angle. Give me 2 seconds as I'm playing with this. There we go. So we'll tip that down. This is a nice big wire cage. I use these types of cages rather than the typical, what you might see at a store tomato cages, because my tomatoes grow huge. I do a lot of suckering, and we'll do a video on how to sucker your tomato plant so that the energy of the plant goes to the fruit and not just to the leaves and to the stem and everything. So we'll take a look at that, maybe in a few weeks when we start seeing some of those suckers come out. But no matter what, my plants get pretty big, and my husband has made these out of, it's just regular old fencing. And so he's cut them and I use them. Now I put my tomatoes fairly close together. Once Brad's gotten done tilling the garden, and he turns my soil over 3 times before I plant, he doesn't bring the tiller back in here. I'll show you how I take care of as many of the weeds as possible. Yes, I still have to do some weeding, but I try to use grass clippings, and maybe you see them up the way there, to help keep down the weeds. So let's take a look at planting this tomato plant. I'll tip you guys down here a little bit more. And so all I'm going to do is dig my hole. And yes, I have super nice soil. This has been my garden space for 25 years. I don't use pesticides or anything like that in my garden. Every once in a while, Brad will have some like leftover triple 12, triple 19, I don't even know. Like when he's working with the grass or whatever, and he might just toss the rest of it on here. But mostly my fertilizer, which I'll have to tell you, we have a new way of saying fertilizer at our house. Our granddaughter is here right now, and we were talking about Papa put out chicken poop on the grapes. And I said, it's for fertilizer to help the grapes grow. And I said, can you say fertilizer? And this is how she says it. It's so sweet. She says, flirtiflizer. And I said, yeah, flirtiflizer. So we will now be calling chicken poop, AKA fertilizer. See, now I'm already saying it. Fertilizer. We will be calling it flirtiflizer at our house forever. So anyhow, so I do have chicken manure in here. Obviously, not right. It's worked in. Brad will clean out the barn. Brad and Zach will clean out the barn. And it's been worked in. I'm also, again, a heavy user of grass clippings. So mostly what my soil's been enhanced with is chicken manure and grass clippings. I do leave like a weed pile in the middle, and we'll burn that off as time goes by in the fall or what have you. But mostly you know, that like when the season's over, the weeds, the, you know, old canes from the tomatoes will go in a pile and we'll burn that off. Stinks. It's really too green to do, but we do it every year. So anyhow, so that's how my soil has been worked up. I generally have good soil. I'll show you when we plant some flowers in the flower beds sometime. I have awesome flower bed soil, and that's a little bit different. That has had barn cleanings from some one of the teachers here at our school. Husband has a horse business and was kind enough for years to let me come and get his barn cleanings, and so I have the best flower bed soil in the world. So anyhow, let's come back to tomato planting. So we're going to get that little leaf under here, and we're going to put it down in the soil, and all I'm going to do is draw my soil up and around, and I tend to push down a little where I want it to have like a little basin, so that I can put, when it waters, it comes down into, rather than mounding it and rounding off. So I'm gonna move you up as I go. So once we have the tomato in there, it goes in its cage. And again, as the tomato grows, it's gonna grow in height. And if I see like a limb is gonna be pinched behind there, and I'm out here, you know, I'll pull it through. Sometimes they get all pinched in there, and you know, I try pulling them out later. It's better when they're young and flexible. But you know, you're going to hear this a lot in videos. If I get many videos done this time of year, it's baseball season. It's the end of May, and I'm just planting. So baseball season is a big thing in our spring. So you know, I don't get everything done on a timely schedule, but we have great success in our garden. So let's go ahead and move you up with me so that we can plant the next couple. So what I'm planting, I always plant a variety. My father-in-law was, he likes celebrity tomatoes, so I tend to grow celebrities. There was a wonderful older gentleman in New Philly that used to grow tomato and pepper plants, and that's where I started growing early girls and supersonics. So I have some early girls already planted behind me. I have some supersonics up there. I didn't get them from him, but I still buy those varieties because it was always nice to stop and talk to Mr. Harbaugh. He no longer has his greenhouse there. Hasn't had it for a couple years, and I sure miss those spring chats with him. We just talk about gardening for a few minutes while I bought some tomatoes. So again, I'm going to tip it down here so you can see what I'm working through. So I'm going to just make my hole. I'm going to look at my leaves. There's again that little leaf that Heather taught me that I really want that underneath my soil. And I really wish I could remember what she said that was. So here, this is just some grass that's come off the bottom of the lawnmower. Just toss it in. It'll decompose. Here's a chicken feather from the chicken barn cleaning. So again, I'm not sitting right in chicken manure. It has been worked in a bit, but you'll still see some feathers. So let's move up another one here. All right, let's go ahead. This is, I tend to hover over. Whoop. Can you see? This is, I'm gonna learn, folks. I so appreciate all of you watching these videos. I am having a blast making them. So I thank you if you're enjoying watching them. I have to do my little advertisement. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. I'd love to hear what kind of tomatoes you plant. So there's that little, let's go ahead and get it in front of the camera. There's that little leaf that we want to make sure we plant. Like I said, I used to pinch that off because I thought, oh, it's just gonna like rot under there. And then Heather says, no, Kathleen, you want that. So here we go. And again, I'm just gonna press down, make a little trough around, and there's plant number 3. Let's go ahead and plant one more, and then I'm gonna show you my deal with the grass clippings. So we're moving you along through the flower or through the garden here. I'll give you a little peek at what we got going here after a second. So we're getting this ready for this last tomato. And again, make sure that little leaf guys underneath the soil, and we'll work around. And there we go. So, while you're right there, I'm gonna leave you right there. All these are our grass clippings from our yard. And again, we don't like put any weed killer or anything on our grass. So this grass clipping is, you know, free from all that. And what I'll do is I'll start by putting it around the tomato plant. And then as we go through the summer and as the grass clippings come along, I am just going to go around my garden and I am going to heavily grass clip in between all of my plants. Let's go ahead and see if we can't give you a little better demonstration. So what this does for me is it holds moisture in my soil. So I never water my garden. My garden's too large to water. I may have over all my lifetime of gardening watered a few tomato plants with a watering can, but it's so rare that I do that I can't really even tell you, it's not even once a summer, that's for sure. Maybe every couple summers there's going to be a really dry spell, but this will keep that soil nice and moist. The other benefit of doing this is that it holds down the weeds. So moisture for the soil holds down the weeds. This decomposes, feeds my soil. So I did have somebody mention one time that as I continue to put more and more grass clippings on my garden, am I sweetening the soil? And every buddy that would be teaching about gardening would tell you you should get a measurement of the pH of your soil. And I know that's something you're supposed to do, but I never do. I did it one time. They were offering some sort of free testing of the soil when we first bought our place. So I went and got that. I don't remember what the measurement was. We were, to do something with the amendment. I think we did it, but haven't done that since. And again, I kind of wonder if, the balance of the chicken manure and the grass clippings kind of, balances that out. I haven't had a decrease in production of things that indicate the soil's distressed in any way. And again, Brad tilled this yesterday, and this is what you're seeing. So it's a beautiful, beautiful texture. It's a great color, rich. So I just let that be my decision that, hello, that it must be still okay to, that I don't need to worry about it. But so plant your tomatoes, make sure you get that bottom little leaf, and it does look a little bit different than the other leaves. So you'll know that's the one that needs to go down below the soil. If you have a really long stem, go ahead and lay your tomato down, and then you'll just kind of softly bend. Obviously you don't want to bend it too much that it would snap, and let more of that stem be under the ground rather than have this long leggy stem sitting in your soil. And then again, I highly recommend getting your grass clippings from your yard, maybe your neighbor. I would 100% only want to have grass clippings that haven't been treated by anything on my garden. So that would be my suggestion as you're getting your garden started. It takes a little while for our entire garden to be covered, and then for a little while we'll have our grass clippings and we just feed them to the chickens. And then as the grass clippings start to break down, we'll do another round where I'll say, Zach, just put all the grass clippings in the garden. I need to, fill in some spots. A few years I've done the newspaper underneath it, but I don't care for that as much. I feel like I'll see the newspaper sticking up, or you step on it and it feels like the newspaper's under your feet. So I don't do that too much. But it would help, if you are more limited on how quickly you're going to get grass clippings. It would help cover the space to hold down the weeds, hold in the moisture as you're lightly starting with your grass clippings. So that would be a good reason why you might want to do that. Okay, as promised, I'm going to give you a little peekaboo at my garden space. So towards the end there, you will see, I'm going to actually do a little turnaround so I'm seeing what you guys are seeing. You get to see me for 2 seconds. Let me see if I can get this to turn around. It doesn't seem to want to be working too well. All right, so we'll just do it this way. So I have boxes that my husband Brad has made, and it just really helps to outline my garden space. I guess I'm just going to chat for a couple minutes. I'll show you the garden another time. How about I show you the garden when I've got a little bit more growing? That'll be a little bit more fun than just looking at the dirt. So anyhow, but I have boxes set up, not so much raised beds, but as outliners. It helps because, again, I do very narrow walkways because we don't have to run a tiller through, and it just allows me to get more out of my garden space. I include in my garden flowers because that gives me joy. I include in my garden herbs. We have raspberry and rhubarb plants. We have blueberries on either end. So yeah, next time, how about next time I come back, I'll show you the whole size of the garden. All right, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Please let me know what you're planting, especially your tomatoes. I'm kind of curious. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.